NFL fantasy football. Jim Coventry from RotoWire here. Depending which format you're on or platform, if you're on the YouTube, appreciate the like and subscribe. If you're not following me at Jim Coventry NFL on Twitter, please do. I will share threads throughout the week going over wide receiver trends, running back trends, tight end trends, prop bet advice. All those things are there for you. Of course, on the YouTube channel, RotoWire on 4 or 5 days a week with definitely live streams for you to enjoy. Let's get to some questions here. All right. Got people on YouTube and Twitter, and I have people on Instagram. I will rotate between the two as I can. Those who are requesting to come in, I am sorry. Too many platforms at one time cannot do that. But you can put in questions and I'll get you. All right, Delroy, half PPR and start two. Pacheco, ETN, Peoples-Jones, Zay Jones, and Chark. So Pacheco ultimately has a good matchup this week against Denver. If you run on Denver, you are successful. They were better earlier in the season. They are not the same defense there. And I do think they will focus a lot on the pass, obviously, and I think there will be room for Pacheco. He's been getting roughly 15 carries or so in most games, so I think he's a reliable starter for you. Don't like ETN's matchup against the Titans. Titans don't give up much on the ground. ETN has not been playing well. Peoples-Jones did have the kick return last week for a touchdown, which helped his fantasy value, but Deshaun Watson looked very rusty, so I'm nervous about him. Zay Jones is a good play this week because, first of all, Jacksonville won't be able to run on Tennessee. They have significant advantages at wide receiver, and Christian Fulton, the cornerback, is out. So I think he has a good floor, but I think DJ Chark has a fairer floor and a higher ceiling than Zay Jones because Minnesota really struggles to cover speed receivers, and they have had real issues in the secondary. So I would start Pacheco. I would go Zay Jones for a high floor. I would go Chark for the ceiling boom bust play because they don't connect downfield. That could be problematic. G Money, you've got a half PPR, Ingram, Hooper, Gesicki, or Bellinger. Yeah, not so good. Ingram has been tough because the problem's been he had targets, then they faded him, then he kind of went back. Hooper, I think he's going to lose out a lot to Chiggy Okonkwo today. I think he's kind of becoming into de facto receiving tight end. Gesicki just so unreliable of a role. He doesn't play enough snaps. Ingram at least plays more snaps, so I give him that. And Bellinger, I think against Philly, it's going to be very problematic. So I'm going to go, I think your best bet is Ingram because, again, they're not going to be able to run on them. They're going to have to throw, and I think middle of the field could be a useful place to attack. Bialy, Njoku over Schultz, starting CD. I don't know how much volume there'll be in the passing game for Dallas today. They may be able to lean on the run very, very heavily. But again, Njoku is dealing with a quarterback that has significant rust issues. And I don't know if they gets knocked off in 1 week, and I'm very concerned. Schultz has a much higher ceiling here. He'd be a reliable 3-4 catches, 30, 40 yards. Njoku, I think, is really your boom bust play because if somehow Watson figures it out, he would have that upside. But if he keeps throwing the ball into the ground, that's problematic. So Schultz, if you want safe points, but if you need 14, 15 points, I think your only chance to get there would be Njoku. Not that he will, but that would be your only shot of getting there. Got a couple questions on, and so make sure I didn't miss any earlier. Sorry about reaching across, but this is like the only thing I got set up right now. All right. D. Lombard, you've got start two, Pacheco, White, Pickens, or Gabe Davis. So Pacheco, I think, is in. His workload is good. The matchup is fine. Rachaad White will be splitting with Fournette again. It's a nightmare matchup against San Francisco, who could stop the run and the pass to running backs. Pickens, though, is in a worse spot because Kenny Pickett can't get him the ball, and he'll probably see Marlon Humphrey or Marcus Peters. That's not a good matchup. Gabe Davis, I'm not excited about because basically the Jets play sides, and Sauce Gardner's on one side, and if they want to avoid Diggs from him, they could simply put Diggs on DJ Reed's side, whereas DJ Reed is still a tough matchup for Davis. So I will say this: White's your volume play as a number two. Pacheco's in. White's your volume play. And then Gabe Davis is your boom bust. You can have a really poor game, but he always could get by with a big play, which can happen. But I would lean toward the two running backs there. And then Adrian, you've got Huntley, Jones, I assume, or Tannehill. I like Tannehill here because basically we've seen the last 4 weeks, teams are loading the box to stop Derrick Henry, and they're doing it. But Tannehill's been successful passing against very good secondaries. Now he gets an easy secondary, not really worried about Burks being out. I think this is a good week for Tannehill, who's had a good floor lately, and I think he has some real ceiling here as well. I like him a lot this week. Huntley played Pittsburgh last year, 141 yards, 2 picks, no touchdowns. He ran for 72 yards. So I think it's about 15 fantasy points. But basically, the more tape people got on him, the less well he did. He had those 2 good games early last year. All right. Watson or Lawrence. You know what? Right now I'm at the point where I've got to see Watson do it. It's not an easy matchup. He really looked rusty last week. Lawrence has a really good matchup here. Again, you can't really run on Tennessee. I think both teams in this game are going to have to pass the ball. So I do like Lawrence. All of his receivers have plus matchups. Palmer or Chark, you know, with Mike Williams back, I think Palmer's going to lose a lot of that target share he had. So, I mean, I think we would be looking 5 targets maybe instead of like the 10 to 12 he was getting. DJ Chark, I do think is going to be a bigger part of this offense. His snap share went way up last week. It was 60-something, 67 snaps last week. So I do think Chark had 98 yards last week is a part of this offense. I think we got to look his way. Jay Red, Fournette or Wilson Jr. Fournette's less than 100%. Wilson Jr., we don't like his workload last week. I don't know what the deal with that was, but this is a phenomenal matchup on the ground against the Chargers. I do think he has to get a majority of his work back. I think he gets as much work as Fournette. Fournette has a death matchup against San Francisco, too. So I'm going to say Wilson here because the matchup is so good. Even if he gets 10 carries, he could go for 55 yards. So I like that. And Chiefs or Seahawks, defenses are always very fickle to go with. Chiefs are more likely to play with a bigger lead, and to me, that usually is where teams have to chase and scramble. That's why I will lean them. Steve, you want PPR need 2. Dortch, Deontay Davis. Love Dortch this week. Love him. All the 4 games he played as a starter, he has at least like 13 PPR points. He's between like 13 and 19. He's like a lock PPR play. And then the other one, look, Deontay is struggling, right? And because of the quarterback. And Gabe Davis, though, has a bad matchup. So, but this is the way you're going to put it. If you want, I think 8 safe points PPR, you're going to go with Deontay Johnson. He doesn't have much of a ceiling above that. If you want to risk a 4 for maybe a 15, if Gabe Davis is a big play, which Deontay's not capable of, Gabe's your boom bust guy. So if you want safe, it's Deontay. If you want to be very risky, volatile, it'll be Gabe Davis. But he's probably more downside than upside in this one. Robert, hey, Robert, you need one. Brady, Tannehill, Huntley, or Mike White. So Nick Bosa is supposed to play for San Francisco, and that was a huge deal. Brady has 2 touchdowns 3 weeks in a row, which he's coming on. This is not a good match with Nick Bosa there. And Tristan Wirfs, the tackle, will be out. So that's going to be problematic for Brady. I mentioned earlier, I love Tannehill's matchup. Huntley did play Pittsburgh already. And like I said, 72 rushing yards, 141 passing yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. They know him now. They got tape on him. They actually played him. So I'm not excited about that matchup. And Mike White, I think this is more of a floor game. Buffalo saw Zach Wilson in their offense, but they know the offense now. And they kind of know what Garrett Wilson can do. I think this game is going to be very, very low scoring. I would go with Tannehill. I think Tannehill's your play there. Let's see. King B Love. You've got Andrews 100%. Andrews averaged 8.5 receptions, 100 yards, 0.6 touchdowns, and 11 targets with Tyler Huntley in 5 games last year. Goes to him all day long. Against Pittsburgh last year, it was 15 targets, like 8 for 80. Going with Mark Andrews. Tyler Huntley can't read the field, can't go downfield, so he has to go to the tight end all day. That's the play. Steve, you need 2. Zay Jones, Chark, or Travis Homer. So Zay Jones, I think, should have a moderate floor here because you can't really run on Tennessee, and the cornerbacks are bad, and Christian Fulton, the corner, is out. So Zay Jones should have a really good floor about him. Travis Homer, I do think they're going to use Tony Jones some. I don't think it's going to be the Travis Homer show, but I think Travis Homer gets 15 touches. So he will be your safe second play, but I think Chark has more ceiling against Minnesota, but he has a lower floor. So if you want the safe, it's going to be Zay Jones and Travis Homer. If you want to go with one safe, it's going to be Zay. Actually, if you're going to go the boom bust route, Homer will be your safe one, and then your boom bust will be Chark over Zay Jones. That's the way I would look at that. Eric, what's up? Crazy week. Yep. DPJ, Richie James, or Dortch. I got to go Dortcher. Again, kick return touchdown for Donovan Peoples-Jones last week, but Watson's throwing the ball in the dirt. I don't know if he fixes that, but I can't bank on that yet. Dortch, when he's been gold in all 4 games that he started, at least 13 PPR points. And so I am definitely going with Dortch. Love him. And as a matter of fact, I expect New England to try to double both other receivers, Marquise Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. So I think Dortch have a lot of room to run. Billy Hayes. All right. Yep. Barkley sits to use Breida or Duvernay. I don't think that Tyler Huntley's capable of getting the ball to outside receivers, so I am not excited about that at all. I'm going to have to say Breida. There's other people on your waiver wire. If Chige Okonkwo is on your waiver wire, pick him up, start him as your flex over both of them. He might be. A lot of leagues he's available, but we'll see. All right, you got Kabroom, Fournette, or Singletary, full PPR. Both have terrible matchups. Singletary was 8 for 24, I think, in the last matchup, and the Jets are, and Deion Dawkins he was out last week, their left tackle. He was game time decision. We won't know till past the hour, I don't know if he's playing, but even so, it's a bad matchup. At least Fournette in a death matchup will get targets, and that's why you put the edge to Fournette, because Fournette could get 5 targets, and that puts him above Singletary. Kabroom, Dortch over both. Dortch over both. Yep, love Dortch this week. Steve, which defense did I start today, Eagles or KC? Now, I'm going to go Case. I'm going to go to Eagles here. Barkley might be limited, but they're going to probably shut him down anyway. Teams have been stacked the box and stopping him, and now they got Jordan Davis has been back, and they've got depth with Sue and Linval Joseph for depth, and so now they're doing better against the run. And then Daniel Jones, if he has to go throwing against Darius Slay and James Bradbury, not so good. So I'm going to go with the Eagles there. Jason, you've got roughly, that's a second person. Roughly, it is 6 teams on bye, right? Gallup or Josh Palmer. So now what's interesting here is, all right, here's the difference. Dallas probably won't have to throw. So there's that. They're probably going to have a pretty good lead with both running backs doing well. On the other hand, the Chargers are probably going to have to score a ton of points. So they're going to have to score. So on these two, I'm giving Josh Palmer the edge, even though Mike Williams and Keenan Allen will eat up the majority of targets. I don't know that Gallup gets many targets here. And then you're starting Zeke, Pollard, CD, Dalton, Church, starting all of them. Yeah, you definitely don't want Gallup with that whole group. It's going to be more of the run. And CD and Schultz will be fine. Can't go beyond that. King D Love, Dortch, Zone, Jones, or Chark. Dortch has the best floor of all three. And you know what? Although I like Chark's ceiling, I don't know how much higher than Dortch's it is, but I do think your boom bust play would be Chark. Your floor plays Dortch, who hasn't had less than 13 PPR points in any of his 4 starts. Got another Insta question. Rashad White, McKinnon, or Homer in the flex? Probably going to lean Homer here. Rashad White has a terrible matchup against the 49ers. McKinnon, they may not need him in the receiving end. They may really get by running and using the receivers. Homer probably should have a stable role here. Got a Brady or a Deshaun Watson. Yeah, that one's tough because with Nick Bosa expected to play, now Brady's going to be under a lot of duress from San Francisco, and he is not good under pressure. Yet Watson looked terrible last week. And so this one is going to be a gut call on your part. Brady has a better floor. It might not be a high floor, but he has a better floor, 15-point fantasy floor. And that, if you want that, Watson potentially, if the rust is off, could have a big game where I don't see Brady having a big game under any scenario here. 1 out of 10 games against him, he might. So I would say Brady's safe. Watson is your boom bust play. Saquon is 50-50 game time decision, 18 minutes inactive, supposed to start dropping. But the one thing I will say, Slevin, is that they didn't activate the Giants running back for the practice squad. So that kind of tells me that they're optimistic that he'll play. My guess is Saquon will play here. Karen, you've got Henry or Okonkwo. You know what? Henry just isn't getting consistent targets. Okonkwo's had 5 in each of the last 2 games. With Treylon Burks, the receiver, out, Okonkwo, the tight end, though, may run similar routes in the middle of the field, and he has the big body type that really matches up well with Tannehill. Okonkwo is one of my favorite sleeper picks of the week. I've got him in a number of leagues, and I'm using him. Hunter Henry, love the player, don't love the situation. I'll go with Okonkwo there. All right. Therein on Instagram, you got Pierce, Deontay Johnson, Latavius Murray, Darius Slayton. So I think the best floor of that group is Deontay Johnson. It's probably like 7 PPR points. Damian Pierce, the problem is Cooks and Collins are out, so Dallas only has one guy to really worry about, and it's Pierce. They can spend resources to make them miserable, so I worry about it. Murray is going to lose work per the offensive coordinator to Mike Boone this week, so there's a big concern there because Boone is way more explosive in this version of Lat Murray. Slayton gets like 1 big play a week. Doesn't matter who he plays, he gets it, and that could dry up at any time. Deontay is the safest one for a floor. Darius Slayton is going to be a little boom bust. He's had good floor, but he relies on a big play. And Slay and Bradbury are the corners. Darius Slayton against Darius Slay, right? Ooh, we love that one. But anyway, that's going to be your boom bust because Slayton does get the big play. If it goes for a touchdown, he trumps Deontay Johnson, but Deontay Johnson is a much more stable floor. 10244 Med. If Barkley plays, you've got concerns. Yes, as you should. Zonovan and Donovan Peoples-Jones. All right. So Zonovan Knight, I would play you. I would consider playing over Barkley. Barkley has been shut down for the most part. I mean, his receptions, 4 or 5 and like 13, 18 yards. His teams are sacking the box, and the Giants can't block. They've been figured out. And it's not Barkley's fault. He's immensely talented, but teams are just taking him away and making Daniel Jones beat them. So there are concerns. Zonovan Jones, I think, is actually safer right now than Saquon Barkley is. Now, could Barkley break a long run? Yes. Can he score 2 touchdowns? Yes. So he's your boom bust play because I see both scenarios. But Zonovan Jones is a much safer floor play this week because he has been running for over 5 yards a carry. The matchup is not bad. The Bills are not going to look to stuff the run. It's not the way they play it. All right, Broadway, you've got Ayuk, Jay Williams. Trying to think which one Jay Williams it is, or Pierce in the flex. Why am I struggling with Jay Williams right now? Shouldn't be, but I am. Jameson Williams, he only plays 11% of the snaps, I think. So in last week, so I don't think he's going to have a role in the offense for a while. Look, Ayuk, we don't know we don't like the cornerback matchup against Carlton Davis and Jamal Dean. We don't like that. We don't know what Brock Purdy is. Oh, Jamal Williams. Thank you. All right. So, Ayuk, I'm concerned because of the quarterback, and I don't think they're going to need to use him. Pierce, I think Dallas is going to focus on him because there's nobody else. Jamal Williams only played 30% of the snaps last week, but I think he has a great floor every week. But Minnesota's tough to run on. So he's going to be a touchdown dependent one. So that's the problem there. So of those three, looking back at it, I think Ayuk has more risk, but I think he's the one of the three that has a potential reward. But I think the one that has a safest floor, and I'm talking like 7 PPR points, that's Williams. Pierce may not have that this week because Dallas may stack to stop him. So Ayuk is the one, if you want a little bit of punch, he has the chance because he has the ability to take something after to catch and break it. That's the way I'd look at that. All right, let's see what we got here. Mohammed, you've got Pierce, Najee, or Homer need 2. Look, Najee has a bad matchup. We get that. But Najee's been playing well the last 4 weeks. He's been very impressive. Yards per carry has been good. He's been utilizing the passing game. And Homer has an easy matchup. He should get 15 touches. Like I said earlier, the 2 starting receivers are out for Houston. Dallas only has to worry about Pierce. And so I think that's who they focus on. Pierce has more upside than Homer, but he has a low floor this week. So if you want the safest plays, it's Najee and Homer. If you want to go boom bust with one, then it's Najee and Pierce, knowing that Pierce could get you 3, but he could break a run. He could get touchdowns, more likely to score a touchdown than Homer. That's the way I'd frame that one. G Money, you're very welcome. Let's see. We got another Instagram question. Mr. AC in your flex. Chark, Palmer, Homer. Which 2 do I play? So Homer should have a fairly established floor of workload this week. Chark is playing full time now, and he did see a good number of targets. Palmer, I worry about because Mike Williams is back. So Eckler and Keenan Allen are going to gobble up the majority of targets. I could see Palmer, and I could see a world where he gets 5 targets, and which may not be enough. Chark could do more with his targets than Palmer potentially can. So I would sit Palmer in this situation. McKinsey need 12-point upside from Palmer or Aguilar. That one would be Palmer because I don't know. I think that the Patriots are going to muddy it up. I think they know they can run a bit with their offensive line against Arizona, so I see them running. I don't think they want to throw a lot, and when they do, I think they're going to be more short routes. Because Arizona likes to blitz, and I think going in, they're going to kind of assume that, and they're going to probably set up the plays. Kabroom, you're welcome. They're going to set up for more short passing. So I'm going to go at Palmer of those 2 and hoping Palmer gets in the end zone for you, which he can. Aguilar's odds for a touchdown are much lower than Palmer's odds for a touchdown, which is why I rank it that way. Laura and Jim Cooperman, you're welcome. Happy to be here for you. actually to everybody, it really means a lot to be a part of your fantasy football routine. So thanks for making me part of that. It is, it's a highlight, that, you've allowed me into your fantasy football space. So thank you. Appreciate you trusting me with some help on lineup decisions. And by the way, if you're on YouTube, please smash the like and subscribe button. And if you like the stuff over at RotoWire, we get you 2 to 3 days of access, no credit card. Just go to rotowire.com/try, check it out, see what you like. Wait till after, you can do it today. Even I write my reactions article every Sunday night. I go over like my top takeaways from the Sunday action. So there we go. All right, Laura and Jim Cooper, let's get to your good question. You need 2 in a flex, so you need to sit one of these. Carter, Chark, Ayuk, or Foreman. I'm going to make this easy. We're sitting DeAndre Carter. Mike Williams is back. Keenan Allen's in. Josh Palmer's ahead of Carter. Carter probably gets a maximum of 3 targets, and it may be 0. So I'm going to sit him in this situation. Love Foreman this week. Ayuk, a little boom bust, but cornerback matchup isn't good. Chark, I do like a great bid. There's a good matchup for him against Minnesota. Cornerbacks are not that hot. Uncle Unites. I keep saying Uncle Santini. Sorry, dude. Unite Santini. Man, I'm old. My vision isn't what it once was. All right. Hollywood Brown or DJ Moore. So, DJ Moore, they had the nice connection last game out with Sam Darnold. But I watched all these games. I watched every snap of every game. On that play, Patrick Surtain looked disinterested. He may have been this thing. I know that Denver hates their quarterback right now. I know that their season's kind of in the circle in the drain. Patrick Surtain was disinterested on that play. I think that Seattle will not be disinterested. I think Hollywood Brown is going to get a lot of attention from Bill Belichick, but his speed is going to be a separator from him. He gets targets. Even this first week back, 97% of the snaps, he was targeted. I'm going to go with Hollywood Brown. He has a higher floor than DJ Moore. And if they both have good, they both have ceiling, but Hollywood Brown's ceiling is higher than DJ Moore. So it's a higher floor, higher ceiling. Not scared about the matchup. I do think that they're able to get his speed and utilize it. So I'm going to go with that. And I know Belichick's in a game plan against him. I know that. But it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins going to be going to get the lion's share of it. And then the secondary attention is going to go to Hollywood Brown. Jonathan, all right, you've got start sit Pierce, DJ Moore, probably. Well, you should DJ in there. I'm trying to think of who DJ is. If you meet it somebody else, you might meet it as somebody else. Latavius Murray or Rashad White. Start 2. So I'm struggling on the DJ, who you might mean there. Just got so many questions flying in. So, and I know you're looking running backs here. So I'm just going to talk about the ones I have here. Latavius Murray is going to lose work to Mike Boone this week per the offensive coordinator. Murray has no explosiveness left. He's beyond washed. He had that one play where the defense broke down and nobody ran after him. He had a 52-yard run. Otherwise, he's less than 3 yards a carry, and they're not getting in the red zone to score. Rashad White has a very bad matchup against San Francisco, but I put him ahead of Murray, and because he should get volume and targets. And I know Murray does get targets, but again, I think Mike Boone's going to take more work than we think this week. Dameon Pierce has a tough match. I think Dallas is going to focus on him because the 2 starting receivers are out. So out of those 3, I'm going to go White 1, Pierce 2, Latavius Murray 3. I wish I knew who DJ was. I'm sorry. Just too many questions to be able to try to think it through. All right. 10244 Med. If Barkley plays, we answered that one already. All right. JKM83. Trevor Lawrence, Daniel Jones, or Mike White. I like Trevor Lawrence. Right? I'm a little worried about the toe injury because I'm worried it might mess with his mechanics a bit. But you can't run on Tennessee. Tennessee can't cover. Christian Fulton, their corner, is out. And, they're also without, I can't think of who it is. They're one of their edge rushers, their outside linebacker. Now I can't think of who it is. But Denico Autry, he's out. So that's going to help with more time for Tannehill. So wrong side of the ball. Trevor Lawrence, back to that one. Yeah, no, I'm on the right side of the ball. That's right. Denico Autry's out and Christian Fulton's out. So I think overall, they're not going to be able to run, but all those receivers have advantages here. So I think that's the way we're going to go with that. John, you need 2 in a standard, Higgins, Ayuk, or Gabe Davis. So Higgins, you got to play. You have to play him because any week he can go off, and it never surprises anybody when he does. And I know he struggled with Cleveland for him, but we didn't have Jamar Chase in that game, so that changes everything. Your other 2 are going to be similar. Gabe Davis, I think, is going to see a lot of Sauce Gardner. They play sides, and so I think they're going to put Diggs on DJ Reed's side a lot, and they're going to put Gabe Davis on Sauce Gardner to kind of sacrifice him a bit. Ayuk has 2 tough corners, Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean, and a quarterback that I don't know can get the ball to him as much as usual. But I think in the game plan, I do think more. I think was Kyle Shanahan's going to make sure we're getting Ayuk on crossers, and that would probably work. I'm going to say Ayuk rates the edge here. Gabe Davis potentially has more upside. Ayuk should have a higher floor. Because if Gabe Davis can always have the big play because of Josh Allen, where I think with Brock Purdy, that big play might be out of the equation for Ayuk. All right, Iron Eddie, Zonovan Knight, Damian Pierce, Rashad White. I'm going to go with Zonovan Knight here. Again, I've mentioned in the show earlier, Damian Pierce, I expect Dallas to make him the focal point with Cooks and Collins out at receiver. And Rashad White has a really, really horrific matchup against the 49ers. And Tristan Wirfs, the tackles out. That doesn't help their blocking. Knight playing really well. Buffalo never looks to really zone in on the run, and they're not great against it. I think there's going to be traction for him there. Good morning to you too, Rob. Oh, man, thank you. I'm glad you're here. Half PPR, Gabe Davis. Oh, man. So the James Cook thing is tough, right? Because he went from 11 touches to 2 touches to 14. Actually, with the targets, it was like 19 touches. And the snap share, it was low too. He's like in the 20s. And then last week it went up a bit. But he's like 190 pounds. And I wonder if the inconsistent usage is because of his size. And this is a very, very difficult matchup for both Davis and Cook. The run defense is excellent for the Jets. And so Cook has so I think Gabe Davis has more upside because he can make a big play. I don't know that Cook against his defense has that going for him. And they both have low floors here because, again, like Singletary's, going to be their early down guy. Cook's mixing in. And like I said, he's had touches 2 out of 3 of the last 3 weeks. I just don't have confidence that's going to continue. But here, trust your gut on this. If you believe that Cooks is going to continue to see the double-digit touches, you've got to move him ahead of Gabe Davis. I am not convinced that happens because, like I said, we have an alternate week thing, and he's a small dude, and I don't, they got to preserve him for the play. I think they drafted him to be receiving back. It wasn't the intention to make him a runner, but they've had to do that. So, and again, bad matchup here. But Cook, I think, again, you've got to use your gut on. I don't think Cook's getting that much work. So I'm going to put Gabe Davis slightly ahead of him. But trust your gut on the rest of that part. Safer floor, Tannehill, Brady, or Huntley. You know what? All right, there's always, since there's the world where Henry has his first good game in 5 weeks. Teams are all stacking. The offensive line is decimated. They can't block in the running game. So Henry's not getting any room to go. But if Henry has a Henry game, then Tannehill's floor goes through the toilet, right? So Brady has the best floor of the 3. Even though he's playing San Francisco, he's got 2 touchdowns in his last 3 games. Huntley played Pittsburgh last year. I think he had 72 rushing yards, 141 passing yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. And now they know him. And so they can game plan for him. And he can't throw to the outsides. He can run, but Pittsburgh knows that now. So I'm going to say Brady has the best floor. I think Tannehill is the guy. If I had these 3, I'm starting Tannehill because I do think Henry's going to get slowed for the 5th week, and they have such an advantage in the secondary. They'll be able to take advantage of it, I think. That's what I would say. Rob, Pickens, Homer, James Cook, or Pierce, you need 2. I'm going to say Homer for sure because the matchup is good, and he should get double-digit touches. And then of the next ones, Pickens scares me because Kenny Pickett can't get it downfield. Pickens going to be facing Marlon Humphrey or Marcus Peters. I think those are both bad matchups for him. So I'm going to say Homer for sure. You've heard me just talk about James Cook, and I'm going to stick this. I don't think the workload is going to necessarily, and the matchup is death anyway, so that makes it even worse. So I'm going to say of those, I'm going to say Pierce is my second guy because at least he has some potential for some garbage time. So I'm going to go with those 2. Those are the 2 I'd recommend there. If you want a boom bust over Pierce, Cook could be your boom bust. They get him in the passing game, that could work out. King D Love on Instagram, Dortch or Zay Jones. So look, Dortch has at least 13 PPR points. And I know you got half PPR, so just extrapolate it down to about 10 in all 4 of his starts. Zay Jones has a really, really capable of floor games, low floor. Dortch and New England is going to focus on Hopkins and Marquise Brown. I like Dortch by a good deal here. And I like Zay Jones. I roster both of them, actually. But North American Shuffleboard Championships, full PPR, Dalvin Cook or DeAndre Swift. Wow, that's a tough one, right? Well, we know Cook's going to play more snaps. Cook plays about 75% of the snaps. The matchup is good. 1796 and a touchdown in the first meeting. Cook is way safer than Swift. That's what we got to give you, man. So Swift, we're banking that he gets 51% snaps again. Now, the matchup from the passing game is beautiful. Minnesota's bottom 4 against receiving running backs. So Swift has a great chance to cash in as a receiver. But if the game plan goes south, if Jamal Williams, is getting more work, they slip back, Cook is way safer. And I don't know how much higher Swift's upside is over Cook's, because Cook does have a great matchup. For that reason, even though left tackle Christian Darrisaw's out, I'm going to say Dalvin Cook here. EC Dubs on Instagram. Good morning. Thank you so much. Call me the hardest working man in the industry. Thank you. I try my best. One for PPR flex. Rashad White, Damian Pierce, or Greg. I'm going to pick up Greg Dortch. White has a horrible matchup against San Francisco. He's splitting with Fournette. Pierce, again, I believe there could be garbage time, but Dallas doesn't have to worry about Brandon Cooks. They don't have to worry about Nico Collins. They're one guy I have to worry about, and it's Damian Pierce. It's the only guy they got to worry about. So I'm going to say Dortch, who has just all 4 of his starts, at least 13 PPR points, gets it done every time. Coach Amador, P. Reiner, Tony Jones Jr. Oh, man, this is tough. Tony Jones Jr. will get a few carries. I think Homer's going to out carry him. I think Jones gets 6 or 7 carries, but I don't know those go for more than 20 yards. P. Ryan at least gets involved on passing downs, and I don't know how much it's going to be. But P. Ryan has the potential to get catches, which are more valuable than probably the short carries that Jones is going to get. For that reason, I'm going with P. Ryan. B. Ali, Rashad White, or Foreman. I have Foreman ranked very highly this week. His 2 bad games, one of them I called. I said, don't start him against Baltimore. That was never going to work. And then the game against Cincinnati, they were down 30 points in the second quarter, so he was game scripted out. Foreman has a good matchup this week. Seattle is very easy to run on, and I don't think Seattle's going to run away from him, so I think Foreman stays relevant. White has a horrible matchup, and Fournette is expected to play. So for that reason, I'm going with Foreman. Frenzy 40K, half PPR, Homer or Latavius. I'm going to go Homer. Again, the offensive coordinator of the Broncos says he worked Mike Boone in a bit last week, coming back from the high ankle, but he expects him to have a much expanded role. Murray has no explosiveness left. I know he had a 52-yard run a couple weeks ago. Carolina busted a defense. The whole side of the field, there was nobody there. I could have gotten 25 yards on that run, and I can't run. He got 52. But otherwise, he's literally less than 3 yards a carry, couple checkdowns. Homer at least has some explosive ability to make something happen. I think Boone's going to be a bigger factor than anybody realizes this week. B. Ali, P. Reiner, Zay Jones. Now, here I got to go with Zay Jones. I believe Joe Mixon goes back to a workhorse role here. Joe Mixon's been 5 yards a carry since they fixed the offense in week 5, and P. Ryan was less than 3 yards a carry in 2 games taking over for Mixon. Mixon has been playing extremely well since they fixed the offense. P. Ryan is going to mix in, and that's it. Zay Jones has a very good cornerback matchup, and matter of fact, Christian Fulton is out for Tennessee, and they are already a mess in the secondary, and they stuffed the run, so Jackson was a big advantage in the passing game here. Michael Delaney, full point PPR. Cook or Pacheco. I'm going to go with Pacheco here. Pacheco's had a firm workload. Denver is not the same run defense they were earlier in the year. You can run on them without consequence. Cook, I may have heard me if you've been around. I am very concerned the workload won't be week to week with him. And the Jets, that is not a good matchup. Ray, full PPR flex, Deontay or Rashad White. So Deontay has a floor, and that's about it. He hasn't had a ceiling, and Baltimore's going to be a really tough match. I think in full PPR, Deontay just gets you 8 points today. Now, Rashad White has a chance of not getting there against San Francisco. But I think he has a chance to score a touchdown, which is something Deontay Johnson really can't do in this offense. So I think it's super close. I think if you want the safest of safe floors, it's Deontay Johnson. But if you want a little lower floor for the possibility of getting a decent, stronger game, like 12, 14 points, Rashad White would be your guy, because he still could get 3 or 4 catches, and that could equal Johnson. And then again, he's more likely to score a touchdown. And that's really all that's coming up. But then that one is so close. If you have a gut feel, you need to go with that. So yeah, Mike Boone is in for an expanded role. We just don't know what that's going to be, right? And it's going to take away work from Murray. I personally think Mike Boone is very explosive. Now, they've had a couple rougher matchups when he has played before he sprained the ankle. He got in for a few snaps, and I do think he's worth a flyer, but I can't quantify what his workload's going to be. I would like to think he's going to get you 40 yards today with a chance for more. I don't know that I can predict the touchdowns. I don't know how often they're scoring, and I don't know how much he'd be involved in that area of the field also. But it's very possible he gets 4 or 5 catches, because if and when they fall behind Kansas City, he could be the receiving back. And that's what they were starting him out as before he had the high ankle sprain. They were starting to look at him that way. So worth the flyer, but you really got to have a little bit of desperation in your lineup to use him. Martin, Steelers or Patriots defense? I'm going to go with the Steelers here. Tyler Huntley, they played him in week 18, so they know what they're getting. And I think that's the way to go with that. We'll know about Barkley's inactive. I could check that right now. Let's see if we have the inactive already. For everybody, let's see what we can find out on the inactive report here. Get this turned off here. For the Bills, this is important. Deion Dawkins, the left tackle, is active. That does help a little bit the pass protection. Certainly helps out Devin Singletary in the running game. I got a McKenzie or Homer question on Instagram. We're going to go with Homer there. McKenzie, I can't trust his role week to week, and the Jets are going to be a very bad draw for him. Homer has an easier draw. All right, Dallas, any surprise injuries? No surprise injuries for Dallas. Saquon Barkley will play. That's directly from Brian Dable. So that's it. Ironclad, he is playing. We're set there. Actually, those are the only inactives I have so far, so that answers your question. So Barkley is active, so you don't have your other question. If there's something crazy that came down late, it would be Mike Williams in a very, very, very good matchup. All right. Frenzy 40K, half PPR, White or Gallup in the flex. Now, here I have to go with White. I think that Dallas is going to have a lead there. All right, Raider Herrera. Nice. So I don't know that Dallas has to throw much here. And I think between Pollard and Zeke, they're going to have a lead. They're going to be able to keep the lead. When they pass, I think Lamb and Schultz get fed first. There may not be 3 targets or more left for Michael Gallup, and that's my concern. I don't think Dallas has to air it out at any point in this game. Could it happen? Of course. Probability they played this game 10 times, 8 games, he wouldn't get many targets. So White, at least we know he's going to be involved in a bad matchup. Drop 1, P. Ryan, Hunt, or Woods. I assume you mean Robert Woods and not Jelani Woods. I would drop Woods. Woods may have a really good game today. It's a good matchup today. If you need him today, fine. But if we're talking rest the schedule, Mixon goes down, P. Ryan's a gold mine. If Chubb goes down, Hunt could be very, very valuable. There aren't many scenarios where Woods, either Jelani or Robert Woods, are viable week to week. But Woods is a good play this week. But again, if you don't need him, nobody can pick him up if you drop him. Patrick Maggs on Instagram, Michael Carter, Latavius Murray, or Homer. I got to go with Homer. Right now, it looks like Zonovan Knight may have moved ahead of Michael Carter. And if that's the case, then that's usage problems for Carter. Homer should get you 15 touches with some receptions in there today. Murray, look, Mike Boone is going to be a thing according to the offensive coordinator. He says that Boone's have an expanded role. That will be at the loss of Latavius Murray, who, again, has little left in the tank. All right. Mohammed, Knight or Homer? Well, I'm going to go Knight here. Knight's playing. He's playing at a very high level right now, and Buffalo does not look the stuff to run. They're really always concerned about the pass, and that's the way it's going to be. And I think you can run on them, and he's getting receptions as well. He's been efficient. He caught all 8 of his targets this week. Homer's in a good spot. Homer's in a really good spot. I think if Homer's more likely to have a bad game than Knight. Homer could not show up. That's possible. I love Homer this week. I love him. But I think when you're measuring these two out, Knight's a better player. And so I think in similar circumstances, you take the better player. But I like Homer. I like Homer a lot. I think he's going to do well. But I think Bam Knight's going to do well, too. Zonovan Knight, too. We were going to call him these days. Roy, Zeke, Swift, or Foreman? So here's what I'll tell you. Zeke and Foreman have the highest floors of those two. They have very stable, strong floors. I expect Foreman to get 85, 90 yards, decent chance to score. Zeke Elliott, 70, 75 yards, great chance to score, if not once, twice. But if Swift, here's the deal with Swift. You can't run on Minnesota, but they give up the 4th most production to receivers out of the backfield. And that's what Swift did. Swift's getting 14 targets his last 2 games, I believe. And that gives him upside over Foreman for sure. I think Zeke has the 2 touchdown upside. I think Foreman has 1 touchdown. Can he score 2? Yes. But I think Swift has higher upside, but has a lower floor. They could cut his snaps. The connections out of the swing passes may not work. So Foreman and Zeke are safest. If you want to go boom bust for the second, then it's Swift over Foreman. Dev, Lockett, Godwin, Devontae Smith need one. So the 49ers are really, really good in the middle of the field. We saw that last week when they played Miami. They really took the middle of the field away, and that's where Godwin operates. Lockett is always a great play. He scored in 5 straight games. He has a number of 100-yard games going back a while. DK Metcalf might be limited. There is nothing to fear about the secondary. Their top cornerback for Carolina ruptured an Achilles a few weeks back, so he's been done for the year. Devontae Smith gets 8 to 9 targets a game, but I really think Philly comes out running. I think Lockett has the best floor of this group. I think if you need, and I think Lockett has a decent ceiling too, but if you really want to go for low floor, shoot for the stars, Devontae Smith could, if they decide to pass, he could have a big game. I don't think they will. So I would go with Lockett personally, but Smith would be your guy if you want to swing for the fence, knowing you could strike out or hit a home run. Spencer, full PPR, flex, Corey Davis, Josh Palmer, James Cook. Barkley is playing. I'm sure you heard that. So, so I think knowing the Bills played the Jets a few weeks back, week 9, they know what Garrett Wilson is, and I think they're going to make it a point to put a little more attention his way. I think that gives Corey Davis some opportunity here. So Josh Palmer is going to lose some targets because of Mike Williams being back. So it's going to be Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler out of the backfield. And Palmer has a better floor than Corey Davis, though. And so I don't know how high Davis' ceiling is because Buffalo plays a very tight zone. So I'm going to actually say here, Palmer is your floor play. He's safe. You get 4 or 5 catches, 3 to 4 catches, 40 yards probably. That's probably what he's looking. He could score. That's how you're looking at from him. Miami, you can move the ball through the air in him, but I don't think his targets are high because everybody's back. James Cook, like we said, it's a tough matchup. His usage has been inconsistent week to week, and that makes me very nervous. That said, he could get the most usage of this group. So he is the boom bust play where Palmer has at least somewhat of a stable floor, in my opinion. MSA, morning to you as well. Dolphins, Chargers, game script. So basically, Miami, I don't know how Miami approaches this game. If you approach it against the Chargers, now Derwin James is supposed to be out. He's doubtful. That's a huge loss for him. You could run the ball all day long on the Chargers. And maybe that's what Mike McDaniel does. He could do that with Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, and they could just run it down their throats and have fun all day long, throw when they feel like it. That's where the rub comes in because you can pass on them too, especially with Derwin James out, but their corners typically play back and they keep the action in front of them. And so the Tua thing, it's tough because I don't know how they're doing the game script. I would more likely lean to the left because I think they're going to have enough success in the running game that they're not going to have to go crazy. But if it's 2 80-yard passes, they had a 75-yard to Sherfield last week. I mean, that blows it up. So I would lean less, but there's obviously paths to more. Herbert probably got to go more because they're going to have to score a lot of points here. Miami is a pass funnel defense. You can't really run easily on them, and it's not like the Chargers have an offensive line they can block anyway, and they'd rather use Eckler as a receiver. So I think Herbert goes over that number. Johnny Football, Zeke, Pollard, Wilson, Homer, need 2. Wow. Well, Zeke and Pollard, I play them both. They're playing Houston. If they blow them out, Pollard still probably gets some work later into the second half. Wilson, we don't know what his workload's going to be. It's a great matchup. And Homer, a great opportunity. But Zeke and Pollard, I'd probably go Zeke and Pollard. A, they're the 2 best players. B, they have a great matchup. And I assume they're both going to be heavily enough involved that even if they come out of the game early, they might have each already scored. Dev, then you're the second part to your question, which maybe I didn't answer. Connor or Hopkins? Well, I'm glad you repost. Usually don't repost the questions, but I'm glad you did because I didn't get your second one. Connor or Hopkins? Well, I do expect Bill Belichick to double Hopkins the entire game to try to take him out. New England's great against running backs, but I think Connor's going to get screen passes. That said, it's tough because DeAndre Hopkins is DeAndre Hopkins. He can get it done on anybody, right? I'd be more inclined to say that James Conner scores a touchdown and has more production. I'm going to say 55-45 Conner because the way Bill Belichick's going to make it a point to take down Hopkins. But if you have a gut feel, go with that one. That one's close enough to do that. Johnny Football, Goff, Tannehill, Lawrence need one. They're all in great spots. Goff is in an especially great spot. He's played very well the last 2 weeks. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, has really been dialing up the offense very, very effectively. And Goff does very well against zone, and guess what Minnesota plays? Zone. I think Goff's in a great spot this week. And you can't run on Minnesota. That's the other thing. And so they're going to have to throw. I love Tannehill this week for the same reason. Facing a team that's going to stuff the run. Their secondary is beatable. Lawrence on the other side of that game. All three of these quarterbacks are against teams that are not going to let you run. They're going to let you pass. Goff has been the most consistent. No, Tannehill actually the last 5 weeks has been better than Goff. But I think with Treylon Burks out, I'm going to give the slight edge to Goff. Honestly, Goff or Tannehill, I prefer them over Lawrence. The toe issue is enough to make me say maybe his mechanics are off. I would start, man, I love Tannehill as a DFS play this week, but I think Goff is a safer floor. There you go. Because if Derrick Henry does get going somehow against a stack box, which he hasn't done in 4 games, that would make Tannehill less safe. So I think it's going to be Goff because there's no alternate script for him. All right, MK2000, full PPR flex. Mike Williams, Mike Evans, or Jamal Williams. All right. I'm going to say Mike Williams. They're going to have to throw. Miami does not have a good secondary. Williams is healthy, practicing full, so he's back. Evans and Brady have not been linking up with Nick Bosa now expected to play today. It's very problematic because Brady's not going to have time. The downfield stuff probably isn't going to work. Jamal Williams down to 30% of the snaps last week. DeAndre Swift went up to 50. I have to assume that's based on the way Swift played. He maintains that lead, and that is what makes that a problem. Just back to some inactives. Let me see what else drops so we can get everybody. Joe Mixon, obviously, as we knew, is active. We knew Hayden Hurst is inactive. Deontay Johnson is expected as playing with the hip injury. No other weird injuries there. The Bills, let's see. Defensive tackle Jordan Phillips is out. That is good for Zonovan Knight for sure. Cornerback Xavier Rhodes is out. Maybe good for Corey Davis in the rotational role with him. All right, good there. Matt Milano is playing for them. That's important. ESPN's Rich Simony expects Zonovan Knight to get most of the carries in Week 14 against the Bills. Again, that's Rich Simony, and I'm getting this off of NBC Sports. I'll give them a little prop right now here. All right. Let's see what else we got here. No surprise injuries for Jacksonville. We knew Treylon Burks was out for Tennessee. Cornerback Christian Fulton, we knew he was out. We knew Denico Autry was out, edge rusher. James Robinson inactive. We kind of figured that was coming down the pike with Michael Carter healthy. All right, good there. Trevor Lawrence, as expected, is active. J.K. Dobbins is active. I do think he will get close to 10 carries against the Steelers. It's a bad matchup. I do think they use him very, very conservatively coming back from the injury. I think that'll be the case again. The Vikings are without safety Harrison Smith. That's very good for the passing game. So that's important for the passing game of the Lions. Very important. And Jeff Okudah is active for the Lions, and that's what I have right now. So I think that's where we stand, at least as of now. There might be more rolling in. Thought there might be more. No, nothing on Cleveland, huh? All right. Somebody has a Amari Cooper question, but I don't think I've seen anything as to the status of him yet. On Cleveland, as I do not have that just yet. All right, let's get back to some questions here. All right. Glenn Rowe. Cooper is expected to start. I was just checking the inactives, and the site I'm on has not listed what the Cleveland situation is. We'll look at and check that back in a few, but right now he's expected to start. Frenzy 40K, DPJ or Zay Jones. Again, Peoples-Jones had a kick return touchdown last week, but I am very concerned with the rust we saw from Deshaun Watson last week. Zay Jones has an excellent matchup this week, and I do think he'll get targets. So I think his safe floor makes him work with that. And then a question on Instagram, Will Gus, my thoughts about Amari Cooper. Look, he had 4 for 40 on 9 targets. And as bad as Watson played, I can live with 4 for 40. I don't want 4 for 40, but I think that's a floor game right now because apparently Cooper said he lives by Watson and they've been working together, and so their chemistry, he said, was good. And so I think that only gets better. And I think there's nothing scary with no Chidobe Awuzie, who's been on the IR for about a month or so for Cincy. So I do like Cooper. I would start Cooper as normal. I would start him as I normally would today. Even if Watson is rusty, there may be enough to make Cooper work. Dev, spamming me with questions. Dev, please ask once. I will get to you. But we got lucky in a second because I forgot the second part of that. All right. FS Guitar. Half PPR, start 3 out of 4. Pierce, Singletary, Cook, and Jeff Wilson. All right, you got to win to make the playoffs. So the deal with Pierce is this. He's going to get some work. Dallas is the only guy that they have to worry about. No Brandon Cooks, no Nico Collins. So they probably make it work. But the game gets out of hand early. Dallas is going to back off defensively. And they probably can run the ball some. So Pierce has a low floor, but he does have some opportunity. Singletary, it's a bad matchup for him. It's a bad matchup. He hit 8 for 24 the last time these teams played. Very bad matchup. And I don't know how many points are scored in this game. And the problem with Cook is he had great work last week. The prior week, he only had a couple touches. And the week before that, he had work. So he's been very inconsistent. He's 190 pounds. I don't know how much I want to overuse him. And this is not a good matchup. And Wilson, I think Wilson's okay. I know last week I was terrified with the workload he got, but this is such a great matchup. Even if he gets 10 carries, he probably gets you 60-something yards because it's that bad. So I'm going to say, but that said, I'm going to go with Wilson, and I'm going to go with Pierce because I think there could be garbage time. And then between Singletary and Cook, Singletary, my guess is he will have a higher floor, but Cook in this bad matchup has a lower floor, but he has a more likelihood of getting a big play. So if you want to go boom bust in that last spot, it's Cook. If you want a base of points in your game, in your must win, then it'll be Singletary. But I will go with Pierce. I'm hoping he falls in the end zone for him. I'm hoping he catches 4 passes. There are more roads to success for him. Mitch, my pros with Joe's teammate. We're in the playoffs, my friend. So let's see what we got here. Assuming Walker isn't going to play. Schefter cracked that one, so we're going to be good there. Homer and Ayuk, it's a good question because Homer, I expect him to get about 15 touches here. Matchup is great, and good chance they get a lead at some point in this game, which helps. Ayuk is troubling because we don't know. Now, Shanahan could scheme it up where he's running more crossers. Instead of he was running a little more downfields up with Jimmy G. I don't think with Purdy they're going to get that. And if he runs those crossers, it gets him away from Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis a bit. So I think Ayuk has some ceiling potential, but I think there's a lot of low floor because they may not need to use his specific skill set in this game. This may really be about McCaffrey and Debo and attacking a team missing their 2 safeties. That may be where the game plan lies. So I would go with Homer for the floor. Now, I think if you got to think boom bust, then you might start thinking Ayuk because Ayuk does have the ability to break big plays, and I don't know that Homer has that. But Homer is a pretty safe floor play here. That's what I'd tell you. Mohammed, you're very welcome. Happy to be here for you. Got an Instagram question from Francisco. Daniel Jones or Jared Goff or Huntley? I want to go with Jared Goff here. Jared Goff played very well the last 2 weeks. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson is doing a very nice job scheming up the offense, and they're playing Minnesota that plays a lot of zone, and that fits in very well to Jared Goff's highest level of success. And look, you can't run on Minnesota, so they're going to have to throw. High projected total in this game. I like Jared Goff by a good deal here. MSA, you've got Jeff Wilson, DeAndre Swift, Pacheco, or Walker. Walker is out, 99% not playing. I better not say 100 because he hasn't been officially ruled out. But Adam Schefter said he's not playing, so we'll rule him out. At that point, I'm going to say this. DeAndre Swift is going to be in because – you're welcome, Francisco – because the Vikings have the 4th most production of receiving backs. Swift has 14 targets over the last 2 games. That puts him in the equation. Now, the second one's going to be this way. Pacheco's your floor play. He's getting about 15 carries now a game. Nothing scary about the Denver run defense. You should get at least 65 yards. Jeff Wilson, though, is your boom bust play. They're playing the Chargers, who can't stop anybody's run. If they give Wilson 30 snaps here, then what we see is Wilson has great upside. And that's what you got to look at. So Pacheco's your safe play, but if you want to risk boom bust in case Wilson gets that low snap share like last week, but he has big upside. So that's how I look at that. Swift is in. Got a couple Insta questions. Jack Scardino, Saquon a must start. Well, 6 teams on by. Yes. I mean, he's been stopped on the ground. Teams are this year for the last 5 weeks. Teams are game planning the way we only used to see in the NFL playoffs and Bill Belichick. They used to be moderate game plans. But now teams are realizing these one-dimensional teams, they're now selling out to stop the good dimension and making them beat them left-handed. And so that's what Barkley's facing right now. He got less than 20-yard receiving in the last couple of games, and his rushing has been 2.5 yards a carry because teams are just loading him. And his offensive line can't block that well, and they're banged up. They're missing a left guard again here. But that said, Barkley's getting volume. Barkley can score a touchdown. Barkley could break a big run at any time. And that's why, unless you have a great option, you really can't sit him. Got another Instagram question from Will Gust. Would I play Cooper or Williams? I assume you mean Mike Williams. Burnt you last time he tried. Yeah, he came back too early, but this time I told people to sit him in that first game back. I was very concerned about how quickly he came back from that injury. I think that I am comfortable this time. I am comfortable. Everything from the practices I've heard, it doesn't sound sketchy. It sounds like he's back to a full role. Now, Cooper, though, 4 for 40 on 9 targets last week. I was very nervous about the rust that Watson showed. I think Williams has more ceiling here, though. I really do think because Cincinnati's not an easy matchup, even though Chidobe Awuzie is out. Williams has big upside because Miami can't cover, but and it's not like you can run on them, and it's not like the Chargers are going to run. I would trust Williams, and I have Williams ranked ahead of Cooper this week by a good number of spots. But if you're nervous at all, trust your gut. All right, Andy Smith, Freiermuth or Everett. So I think Everett's targets will shrink more. Keenan Allen acclimated all the way back, Austin Eckler involved, and now Mike Williams. The target distribution goes. Everett was getting targets because he was like the big body. Well, now Mike Evans is the big body. And so I think he gets phased down a bit. Freiermuth is pretty much always involved. And actually, Baltimore is not the defense against tight ends they've been in the past. They are attackable there. So I think you go there out. And then Jack Scardino on Instagram is another Pacheco or Barkley. Oh, man. Oh, that's a tough one, right? Pacheco has a high floor. I don't think he has a massive ceiling. He might get a touchdown, but normally he's about 80 to 115 yards on the ground, maybe one catch. Maybe I have a 2-catch game in there. Odds of touchdown are fairly small. Pacheco's your floor play. I think Barkley doesn't have exactly Pacheco's floor, but it's not far off because he'll catch 4 balls. I think he'll catch 4 balls in his sleep. So I think that, and then Barkley has more upside. If it's me, I'm starting Barkley. It's close enough if you have a gut feel on Pacheco to go with it. I would say Barkley 60 to 40%. That's how I'd rate that one out. George, what do you got here? Let's see. You got need for one for your flex. Hollywood, Devontae Smith, Jamal Williams, Pacheco, or Garrett Wilson. Man, it's really hard to sit Garrett Wilson. He's had at least 92 yards in 4 of the last 5 games. I am nervous that Buffalo saw him already. They'll have a little bit more of a plan for him. I do know, though, that we've seen Mike White will lock down on him, and that's there's a lot to be said for that. The first game was with Zach Wilson at quarterback when Garrett Wilson had this 90-something yards. Hollywood Brown is probably going to get a lot of attention from Belichick, but I believe his explosiveness plays well. Devontae Smith has too much floor. He has good ceiling, but the other guys have good ceiling too, and that's why I'm going to rule him out. Devontae Smith could have a smash game. But I think Philly's going to come in and run the ball today. And if that's the case, then the targets might not be the 8 or 9 he gets every game. Jamal Williams played only 30% of the snaps last week, had 11 carries for 30 yards. And Minnesota's death against the run. The receiving backs do well, but he's not getting targets. Pacheco, you heard me talk about him, George. He's got a good floor for you. I think all that said, Garrett Wilson is just getting so many targets. He's such a vital part of that offense. And he might be good enough that even if he gets attention, it might not matter. Again, Pacheco is a real safe floor. So if you really want that 10 point or so and you want to just say, I got my 10, I'm good with it, it's him. Garrett Wilson's floor can't be far off that, though. Can't be far off that. And his ceiling's got to be way higher. Hollywood Brown, again, with Belichick, he might double both outside receivers. I know Hollywood Brown moves in the slot, and you may still bracket him there. I'm going to say Garrett Wilson and Hollywood Brown a close second. Pacheco, solid floor play. Mike Rice, do you drop a Dolphins? I would drop Mostert. Yes, drop Mostert for night. I know Mostert had more carries. He has not been explosive all year long. I can't see him. He's returning kicks. He was like 7 for 30 last week on the ground. Wilson has way more upside. And I think it was a 1 week anomaly. I would drop Mostert for Donovan Knight. McKenzie, new to fan. Thank you. It's so nice of you. Thank you. That means a lot. Appreciate you, McKenzie. Thank you for being here. Good luck today, and you're welcome to come over anytime. I do live streams. Everybody, those who join me regularly, I do live streams on this very channel. I do them on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and those are usually about 5 Eastern. Time varies a bit. And then I do them on Saturday morning, do a gambling show with DFS. I do that at 11:30 Eastern. So, yeah, definitely join me. I'd love to have anybody aboard anytime. Twitter at Jim Coventry NFL. Please follow me. I send you all my stuff. I send out stuff all week long. Help you guys keep you armed to win your fantasy leagues. All right, Robert, Kittle or Dulcich? Dulcich had a good game last week, and he's probably going to be needed again. There's probably garbage time here. I don't know what Brock Purdy's going to be able to do with Kittle, but, man, it is so hard for me, Robert, to tell somebody to sit Kittle. It is so hard because he could take a screen 80 yards. Dulcich had a couple broken plays this year that would have worked for me. He had long plays, and I get that. But Kittle could legit get a touchdown anytime on the field. So I don't think Dulcich has done enough over his time. Hello, Midway Barker. Thanks for saying hello. So, yeah, I think really I can't sit Kittle here. Not especially if it's a must-win week. I got Dulcich has 3 to 5 targets in 4 of his last 5 games. That's not enough. I'm going to go Kittle. Jonathan Wade Cash, DJ Moore. Oh, now go into a question you had before, dude. Sorry. So here, I'll tell you what I think of DJ Moore, and then you can frame everything else I told you based on him. So DJ Moore got a big play from Sam Darnold against Denver the last time they played. I watched every snap of every game. I don't think Patrick Surtain thought there was a 1,000,000 to 1 chance they were throwing deep. He was like jogging. He looked disinterested. Wasn't even in on the play. He was in the picture, but he wasn't even like actively guarding Moore on that play. I really think it was a fluke play. And I think that DJ Moore, he'll see a lot of Tariq Woolen. It's better for him when Mike Jackson's on him. He'll see a little of both. I ultimately think, though, that this is a bad matchup for DJ Moore. And I don't think Sam Darnold, I can't trust him to do it. So DJ Moore, I have a moderate ceiling. Like he could get you 12 points if he, 14 points if he has that big play. Otherwise, I see a lot of potentials. If they play this game 10 times, I think like 7 of them, he can get like a 4 to 6 fantasy points. All right, Chris. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for thanking me for my hard work and help. And oh, yes. Got you set up for a playoff spot. You did it yourself. I'm just glad I was able to give you a little input to let you make those great decisions. Kyler or Kirk. So here's the deal with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has struggled most against blitz and man defense. That's what the Lions play. And week 1 or 2, week 2 maybe, early in the season. So he had an issue. Kirk Cousins did doing well against Detroit, and it was that. Detroit is playing very well defensively the last few weeks. Probability-wise, can Cousins get it done? Cousins is a weirdest guy, right? He could all of a sudden come out of nowhere and have a massive game. If they play this one 10 times, 7 of those times, this is a low-volume game. This is a type of defense he does not do well against. They would be very well, Minnesota, to run the ball against him. That would be their best game plan. I like Kyler Murray. Murray's been like 29 or more fantasy points in 2 of his last games. I know he's playing Belichick. I think he's going to run a lot. From Brazil. Nice. Welcome aboard. Nice. Glad you're here. So I do like Kyler Murray here because Murray has a higher floor, and I think they have moderate ceiling. Midway Barker, Dortch or Chark, wide receiver 3. So you know what? I do like Chark a lot, but Dortch has been starting 4 times this year, he has at least 13 PPR points in every one of those starts. And Dortch has been rock solid. And I believe Bill Belichick is going to try to bracket DeAndre Hopkins, extra attention to Marquise Brown. I think Dortch is going to get a lot of targets here. So I like Chark too, but I don't know that Dortch's ceiling is lower than Chark, so I'm going to go with Dortch. Now, Chark could have a good game, and if you have a gut feel on Chark, go with it, but Dortch has been nothing but reliable when he started. One more Instagram question here. This is my last Instagram question, actually. At the top of the hour, I'm going to finish up the Twitter, YouTube. Najee Harris, Pacheco, or P. Ryan? So Pacheco has the safest floor of the three. Najee has a really bad matchup. Najee's been playing very well the last month, but Pacheco has a good matchup against Denver. P. Ryan, I'm moving out of this one. Midway Barker, you're welcome. Mixon should be back in the lead role. I'm going to say Pacheco slightly over Najee Harris, but Najee Harris could get some targets. And so this is like 51 to 49%. It's literally a coin flip. If you have a feeling on one, go with it. But because Pacheco has a better matchup and there should be more room to run, that's why I like him here. But Najee Harris has been playing great. So if you feel it, go with him. But it's 51 to 49%. Instagram, thank you for coming in. Everybody, good luck today. And if you meet me over on YouTube, RotoWire, meet me there. Close that one up, and let's finish up the YouTube and Twitter. All right, and Facebook. Got to give Facebook some love here. Let's see. Got a bunch of questions, but we'll get through these. Yeah, we got some time. We're definitely going to get through these. All right. Rodney, Zay Jones, or Brandon Ayuk? So, I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you've been with me a while, but Ayuk, it's going to be interesting because outside corners, Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis, that's not a good matchup. That's a real rough one for him. But if game plan-wise, if Kyle Shanahan decides to get Ayuk use on slants, that mitigates that. Now, whether Brock Purdy can get him the ball, it's a question. Zay Jones should have a good floor here. Tennessee, you can't run on them. Their corners are bad, and they're without Christian Fulton. I think Zay Jones has a little safer of a floor, but I don't know that the ceiling game is coming here because this could be a lower-scoring game. So Ayuk is boom bust. Very, very low floor. He could get you 15, 18 points if it goes well. He breaks that long play. I think Zay Jones is safer. All right, I think Zay Jones gets you 8 to 10 points. Small possibility for more. But again, he has such a matchup here. He should be open a lot. Would I drop P. Ryan for Homer? So the whole thing is with P. Ryan. For this week, if you have to have a win this week, Homer's a 1-week fix, I think. Because they're calling Kenneth Walker a game-time decision, my guess is he can't be too likely in the multi-week absence injury thing. Maybe he misses one more. But Homer's a limited back in a lot of ways. It's a good matchup this week. But if he has a tougher matchup, then he's going to struggle with that. P. Ryan, you know the deal. If Mixon goes out, you got yourself a week winner, right? You guys have a running back one. So you got to frame it that way. If you desperately need somebody to start this week, you do it. But for the long term, Homer won't be the long-term answer. Good question. All right, we got our next one here. Help you out. I'd be happy to help you out. Do you flex Pierce, Mike Evans, or Latavius Murray? All right, this is where I'm going to just go to the talent. I don't like the Mike Evans matchup because basically Tom Brady has not been on the same page with him very well. Now, they did hook up a couple times late in Monday night game, so there was that, right? So we like that. And good, but the pass rush is going to be a problem. Nick Bosa's playing. But Pierce, the problem is no Nico Collins, no Brandon Cooks. So Dallas has one guy to worry about, and it's Dameon Pierce. So there could be some garbage time. So you got that. Murray, the offensive coordinator, said Mike Boone's going to be much more involved this week. Murray just has no juice left. Because there's one guy in this group that can get you 25 points out of nowhere, and it's Mike Evans. And so I'm going to go with Mike Evans. Rodney, I may have answered that. I think I answered that for you already. Henry, Dortch or Boone? I got to go Dortch because as much as I like Boone, it's all narrative. It's all narrative. I love him. I don't know how much work he gets. I don't know how he does with that work. The offensive line's been banged up, so the blocking isn't quite what it was earlier in the year. Dortch has been at least 13 PPR points in all 4 games that he started this year, and there's no reason to think he won't do that again. Bill Belichick's going to take out the top 2 receivers to the best of his ability. Dortch should have room to run. McKenzie, full PPR, Rashad White, Josh Palmer, Zay Jones. In my mind, these are all flourish plays, right? there's low probability of any of the three going off. If one of them could go off, it would be Zay Jones here, because Tennessee is so bad against receivers. And Zay Jones has a similar floor. Rachaad White just has a really bad matchup, because even receiving backs don't do well against the 49ers. So that's it's and Lenny's playing, so that's gonna take away some work from White. Palmer, I think with Mike Williams back, just the targets go down. Zay Jones has been getting targets. Now, he hasn't always done anything with those targets, but the matchup could not be much better. Amari Cooper is active. Adam Schefter expects Tony Jones to start over Travis Homer against the Panthers. That doesn't mean anything to me. He'll start. Yeah, he's going to get 8 or so early down carries, but he can't do anything. Tony Jones is terrible. Homer will be involved in this game. I still think he has 15 touches. Tony Jones, fine, get the start. That's going to scare some fantasy managers away. Homer was their number 2 all along once they lost Rashad Penny. He was their number 2. So he's going to be heavily involved in this game, especially in the receiving work. Zay Jones is active. Amari Cooper is active. And I think we're caught up on all of those now. All right. Isaac Cook or Pirine. I fully expect Mixon to go back to taking on the lead role here. Cook, his touch has been very inconsistent, like 11, 2, 15 or 19. It's all over the board. He's a small back, and it's a tough matchup. But that said, I think he gets more bankable usage than Pirine, and that's why I'm going to favor James Cook. Ty, morning to you as well. You're welcome for that. Oh, yay, you got something to help. I'm glad it helped. That makes me happy. All right. So you need 6. Good read. You drop Chark or Jamison Williams, pick up a Quanko. I would drop Jamison Williams and pick up a Quanko. I would. Because Jamison Williams, I could be wrong here. And if you have a gut feel on it, go with it. I don't see a world where Jamison Williams has moved into a prominent role this season. I think they're ramping him up, getting him used to the offense to make sure he gets ready. They're ready for next year. I think DJ Chark's their starter. I don't think Williams is going to displace him. I think I know he's less than a year removed from ACL injury. I think they want to just make sure he's good to go for next year. Njoku is a very good player. I still don't know what we have in Watson yet. Well, the Russ is there. I love a Conquo this week. Njoku does worry me because, again, if Watson's rusty, it could be a very bad game for Njoku. I do like a Conquo this week. All right, Jonathan, I think I may have answered the bulk of this one before, so I'm going to rank them this way for you. I'm going to say Rachaad White 1. I'm going to say DJ Moore 2, and I'm going to say Pierce 3. Pierce has a higher floor, but for starting 1, it's going to be Rachaad White because I count on his volume to be the best of the 3. Jonathan, Tua or Kirk? You probably heard me mention earlier about Kirk Cousins, his struggles against man and against blitz, and he's going to see a lot of both of those today. Tua, it could be a problem where they run the ball, so if they don't have to pass, but they're still going to pass some, and he still has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And ultimately, I think this game is going to be a shootout. And Kirk, I just don't like the specific matchup against the style of defense is not to his strengths. I was going to just go with Tua there. Ray, instead of Deontay Johnson or Rachaad White, to pick up Rondale Moore to pick up, drop Moore to pick up Dortch. So, all right, so here's the thing. I don't know when Moore will be back. He may be back next week, maybe back the week after. If you make this move and Rondale Moore becomes healthy in the fantasy playoffs, then you don't have Rondale Moore who's getting 8 to 9 targets a game, 8 to 12 targets a game. That's the problem. Dortch is a much better player than both of them. If you think you'll need Rondale Moore in the fantasy playoffs, and maybe he won't come back, right? We don't know. But if you're worried about that, then I would start Rachaad White. I would just say, you know what? I'll take my chance with Rachaad White. Hopefully he gets enough volume and gets me in. Dortch is the best play of the 3, in my opinion. The likelihood of having that game is much better to me. Pacheco or Wilson? So, Randog, Pacheco is safer because Wilson the usage was scary last week. It's a great matchup for Wilson. If they give him the work he had before, Wilson blows away Pacheco. Wilson could have a 25-point game. But if he gets last week's usage, he gets a 3-point game. Pacheco's going to get you 10. 8 to 10, right? Maybe a little more. So Pacheco's your safe play. If you need to take some risk, if you need that big upside game, Wilson has that. But there's also downside. So you got to measure that. Max, all right. Oh, man, I'm glad you listened to the RotoWire show with myself and Mario. Sirius XM, channel 87. Thank you. I'm glad you listened. Yeah, I love working with Mario. Buy him again, injuries. Yes. All right. Flex spot. Jordan Mason, Mike Boone, Elijah Moore, Darius Slayton. So here's the thing, Max. Slayton gets one big play or two every week. It's like 7 out of 8 weeks. Every time he gets one. He has Darius Slayton is facing Darius Slay or James Bradbury. It's a bad matchup, but he's been getting big plays. So you're counting on that. If you don't get that big play, he's toast, right? Jordan Mason was like the 8 for 51 last week. And Tampa Bay's been tougher to run on lately, but the run scheme is good. Don't know how many carries he's going to get. Elijah Moore, he had the broken play against the Bears where their safety fell and they got injured on the play. Otherwise, he's like two catches a game. Yardage been low. Snap share is getting better, but they're playing Buffalo. Mike Boone is interesting, but it's all narrative. I love him, but it's narrative. You have a good enough player. Well, no, you're in that zone. So I think your floor play is Darius Slayton. He's your floor because he gets something done every week. And I think your boom bust play is going to be Boone. That's a boom bust. He may do very little, but if he's a passing down back against Kansas City and they're trailing, there's a path to him getting some points. So Slayton has just been getting it done, so I would roll with him. But if you really got to make a swing for the fence, I would go Boone. Because if this game gets out of hand too, they won't take him off the field. There's no reason to take him off the field. He could be the garbage time back. Dulcich or Njoku. I am concerned with Deshaun Watson, and maybe the rust falls off today. Maybe it does. Hard to think it will. Dulcich, they're going to need him. No Cortland Sutton, garbage time again. They're probably going to trail a lot. I'd be more inclined 55 to 40%, 5% Dulcich over Njoku. Now, remember, Dulcich had 3 to 5 targets in 4 of his last 5 games, so there's that. But again, if that offense is not running with Watson, that's problematic for Njoku. Hartnell, let's see. Homer, Murray, Rashad White. So I just pointed out that Adam Schefter said Tony Jones is starting. Again, I think that's just formality. Early down back is going to be more. You want Homer in the passing game anyway. You want him when, mixed in, change of pace. He's better in that role, and he should be good. He should have a good floor for you. Latavius Murray, I think, is going to lose a lot of work to Mike Boone this week per the offensive coordinator of their team. Rashad White is probably the safest of them, though, because it's a bad matchup. But he's going to get touches. He's going to touch the ball at least 14 times. And he's a good player. So he could make something. He has a better chance of scoring than Homer. So I think White is your safest play of the 3. And I don't know that Homer's ceiling is much higher. So I would go with Rashad White there. It's a bad matchup, but I would go with that. Delroy, Dortch, or Zay Jones. So, yeah, you've heard me talk about each of these guys. So, love Dortch. But Zay Jones is a great matchup. But Zay Jones disappears a lot, right? Dortch has been 4 for 4 in his starts. Good, everyone. That leans me to Dortch. Because, again, Bill Belichick ain't focusing on Dortch this week. McKenzie, Bellinger, or Schultz. So I've got to say Schultz for floor. And you look, if they get out to a big lead and they're running, I still think Schultz gets you 3 to 4 targets. And I don't know that Bellinger can guarantee you that. Schultz will usually catch all 3 of them. And there's a chance Schultz scores. So I think he has a safer floor than Bellinger. B. Alley, Zay Jones, or Robert Woods. So Robert Woods had 2 good games. One of them recently against Green Bay. I started him in the Kings Classic, and I needed him. He came through. Zay Jones gets targets every week. We don't know that Robert Woods will get targets. Now, I think that they're going to shut down Derrick Henry, as Henry's been shut down the last 4 weeks. I think they're going to have to throw, and I think Woods has a very good probability of getting targets. I think the way they're using their offense, they're pretty much the same guy not in terms of who they are as players, but in terms of their usage in the offense. And I think ultimately both teams are going to have to throw. I think Zay Jones will have a more favorable matchup than Robert Woods. So I'm going to go barely with Zay Jones. If you have a gut feel, go with it, but that's the way I'm going to look at that. Ra WB, need a flex. Okonkwo, Dortch, P. Ryan. I got to go Dortch. And I love Okonkwo this week. Love him. But Dortch, like I said, money. 13.3 plus fantasy points in all 4 of his starts, and New England is not going to be focusing on him. Billy, when I started Okonkwo over Pierce in the flex, he's had 5 targets in each of the last 2 games. Pierce has been totally bottled up in 2 of the last 3, and I think Dallas is the only guy Dallas has to worry about. So I would go with Okonkwo here. I would go with him. I really think he has to be a featured part of the game. And Craft Keepers, we got Judy or Thielen at receiver. All right, so I'm going to go first on that one. I imagine there'll be a lot of zone from the Chiefs. I imagine there's going to be garbage time. Thielen hasn't been performing at a high level. I called the one against New England. I knew that they would be so heavily invested on Jefferson. Thielen would just be running around free. But they play man. And I don't know how much Thielen's beating man these days. I'd go with Judy here. I'm going to go with Judy here. Chubb, Madison, or Tony Jones? Chuba. Madison's sneaky near the goal line, right? He's not getting hardly any work. Tony Jones, it could be 8 carries for 14 yards. I mean, I don't have any faith in his talent. Chuba does have a good match against Seattle. If he gets 10 carries, he could score. Madison is most likely to score a touchdown. Chuba is the most likely to have the highest yardage of the three. So if you want to take a chance for a touchdown, it's Madison. If you want to bank a few fantasy points, Chuba's your best bet. Admiral, Judy, or Hollywood Brown. Now this one's interesting. I really think Bill Belichick is going to go the route of double Hopkins, bracket Brown, and then let anybody else beat him. Jerry Judy's going to have room to operate here. They're going to need him. They probably get a similar number of targets. Brown is more boom bust because his speed could result in a big play. Jerry Judy has a higher floor because he's going to have to catch passes. So if you want safe, it's Judy. If you want to risk a lower result for a possible big play, it's going to be Brown. Forrest, Zay Jones, or Tyler Boyd. I've got to go with Zay Jones because his role in the offense is more secure than Boyd's is. We never know. Boyd has had mostly poor games. Zay Jones gets targets, and it's a great matchup for Zay Jones. So I'm going to lean that route. Okay, yeah, Kenneth Walker not playing today. Excellent. M Squad for Freeman. Thielen or DJ Moore? Thielen has a higher floor because he should get you 7 points, PPR. DJ Moore could get you a 4, but if he does connect on the long pass, he beats Thielen. So here, if you want the safe play, it's Thielen. If you want to risk a very low floor for potential, maybe a touchdown or a longer play, it's going to be DJ Moore. I'd start Thielen most likely. Jim, St. Brown, or Hopkins? Oh, it's a good problem to have. Ultimately, they're both phenomenal plays. They always are. I expect Bill Belichick to double Hopkins. I think St. Brown, Minnesota is good in the middle of the field, but I think St. Brown is enough of an elite talent that it shouldn't matter. And we got the boss, Peter Shanky, my man. All right. Zonovan Knight or Darius Slayton or Tyler Boyd. So Peter's defensive tackle Phillips is out for the Bills, and they're not a great run-stopping defense to start. So Zonovan Knight is in a better spot. And actually, the coaching staff said that he is going to get an increase, like a heavier workload this week. So Zonovan Knight is a thing right now, and he's a very strong play. Buffalo isn't going to look to stop the run. They're going to more focus on the passing game. So you're going to – now Slayton, it's literally – a big play every week, like 6 of last 7 last 8. He's had like a 20-yard catch. A couple of them been 40s. Now, Darius Slayton is facing Darius Slay or James Bradbury. I don't like that matchup. The odds go down for the big play here. Tyler Boyd, it's very difficult with him because we never know when he'll get those targets. When we go back over the season, we see there have not been many spikes. There are 2 spike games, and they're very hard to call. I think this is a game where that's not going to lend itself. They're going to be able to work with Chase and Higgins. I don't think they're going to have to default him. I think Zonovan Knight is both your floor and your moderate ceiling play. Your boom bust play would be Boyd because Boyd has that 100-yard touchdown game in his back pocket. It's just really rare, and I don't see that necessarily coming here. Johnny Football. Okonkwo or Kittle need one. All right, this gets into the don't get too cute range, right? It was a question earlier, right? It's a good question. It's a great. I love Okonkwo this week, right? A big-bodied receiver, Ryan Tannehill, pass funnel defense. What's not to like? And George Kittle. Now, here's the thing with Kittle, and I should have said this earlier. Hopefully, the last person will ask. Both safeties for Tampa Bay are doubtful. They're not playing. That's the middle of the field. That gives Kittle a tactical advantage. So I am going to go with Kittle. Okonkwo may get you 80 yards and a touchdown. My bold call for the day, right? Am I saying he'll do that? No, but he can. But ultimately, if he doesn't do that and Kittle gets that big play down the middle and he goes off, so I just don't want to get too cute with it right now. That's what I want to say. Love Okonkwo, but Kittle has opportunity with the two safeties down. All right, there, Johnny Football. Oh, you're doing kickers on me. You can't do kickers on me, man. I'm terrible at kickers. Kickers require luck, and I'm not lucky. But that said, Dallas is guaranteed to score points. All four of these teams are, but Dallas is really guaranteed to score points. So I'd say Maher for the floor, but kickers, you guys make those on your own. I'm not lucky, and that's it. That's it. All right, Kittle or Everett. Christopher, I'm going to get so Everett's going to continue to lose some role. He was the biggest body they had, but Mike Williams is back. So middle of the targets, now Keenan Allen will suck those up, and now we have downfield, big body Mike Williams. I think Everett's targets shrink, and you just heard me give the spiel on Kittle. And we won't get too cute with that one. There's a Washington defense we're picking up, yes, for next week. And next week they're playing the Giants. It'll be their second matchup. Bryce Young. Oh my gosh, their edge rusher. Oh my gosh, I'm losing it. Anyway, he'll be healthy. And so anyway, I think that's an opportunity. So I think they are worth it for next week. Definitely a preemptive pickup if you could drop somebody now because they're sitting on your waiver wire because they have a bye this week. It would be worth it for that one game, I would think. Trey, full PPR, should you trust Swift with Minnesota versus Minnesota or play Connor? So we have a similar situation here. Now, New England and Minnesota are both excellent against running backs. Minnesota is bottom 4 against receiving backs, and they have been giving up yards. And Swift has 14 targets over the last 2 games. Connor has played a 97 and a 90% snap share twice in the last 3 weeks, a 77 in between that. And so I expect him to be utilized. I think Connor has a safer floor. His usage is guaranteed. Swift, what if the coach pulls a rug out on him and puts him back to the 30% snap share? We have that. But I think Swift has the higher ceiling because the passing game matchup is so good. So I will say Connor is your safe play. If you want to go safe, go there. If you want reasonable floor with very good upside, I think Swift has that big upside this week. Finn Strom, it's a good question. Goff or Prescott. Normally we wouldn't be asking this one, but Dallas should have so much success running the ball. I don't think they're going to have to throw so much. And so I think it's a lower volume game. Whereas on the other side, Goff is great against zone. Minnesota plays zone. Pass rush is good but sporadic. And Goff has weapons. And I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I like Goff here. I like Goff's floor. The offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, really doing well lately. George, thank you. And yeah, if you hit the subscribe button, I would appreciate it greatly. Rob, Dortch, you know what? Gabe Davis is a bad matchup here, right? And he hasn't been doing well. Dortch is 4 for 4 in good starts, so I'm going to go with Dortch. Delroy, thank you. All right, Pierce or Cook? So we talked about Cook. The usage has been all over the board the last 3 weeks, right? And it's a tough matchup. But Pierce, it would seem to be a good matchup, but Dallas, he's the only guy they have to worry about. But there's a chance for garbage time. Ultimately, Pierce has a higher probability of getting more touches. Cook has a bad matchup. I'm going to say 60% Pierce, 40% Cook. But if you have a gut feel, go with it. Brian Upton, thank you so much. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. And I see you got Fozzie Bear. Waka Waka. I like that. You got Ayuk or Gabe Davis. So, again, I was kind of saying if Shanahan gets Ayuk used on more crossers, he'll avoid Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis, which is good. I can't guarantee he'll do that. I don't know that Brock Purdy has that acclamation with him yet, but Gabe Davis hasn't been playing well. And if the Jets play sides, and if Sauce Gardner, they want to avoid Diggs and they put Davis on Sauce Gardner's side, now Gabe Davis has a problem. He hasn't been performing, and now he gets a shutdown corner. I'm going to say Ayuk is safer this week. I think that Gabe Davis, although he has a very low floor, if there's always that 70-yard touchdown in there. I don't think Ayuk necessarily has that this week. Ayuk way safer. Gabe Davis, if you've got to shoot for that 20-point game that Ayuk probably can't get this week, he could do that, but the downside is may not be worth it. And then Brian, ETN, Kirk, or Mostert. So Mostert had 7 carries last week, 30 yards. Somehow he out-carried Jeff Wilson. I don't think that's 2 weeks ago. It's a great matchup. Mostert has not been explosive at all this year. It may be a little in the first game, and he looks like a 30-year-old back right now. ETN hasn't looked good, and he plays a shutdown run defense. So Kirk is in. I think ETN gets more work than Mostert. I think ETN has a higher floor. But I think this is a game where Mostert could get 2 chunk runs, low floor, but he has a higher ceiling. So if you want the safer bank some points, it's ETN. If you need to do some risk, it's going to be Mostert. Dog, let's see how I got to zip through these last ones. We're at 11:20 or 12:28 Eastern, 11:20. I got to zip through these. I may not be detailed on these guys. Waddle, Higgins, Devontae Smith. Philly may run a lot. That's why I'm fading Smith. Homer or P. Ryan. Yeah, Tony Jones is starting, but that means grinder work. Homer still gets probably the passing downs, probably gets 40% of the rushing attempts. Tony Jones is terrible. P. Ryan shouldn't see a lot of snaps here. I'm still going with Homer here. Jim, Najee, or Pierce. I'm going with Najee fairly easy. It's a tough matchup. He's been playing so well. Pierce is probably going to have to, Dell's probably going to load up on him. Delroy, Harris, White, and Njoku. In Njoku, I'm worried about Watson. White, I'm worried about the matchup. Harris is playing well. I'm going to go with him. Brian Pope, all right. Williams, Swift, ETN, or Pollard, 1. Look, I got to go Pollard. The alternate backs, last few weeks, Houston's been better against the primary back. The speed back has been killing them. Pollard has elite upside here. Certainly gives Swift a look too, but in PPR because he could catch passes, but I think Pollard could go off here. Swift is a close second. Paul, DK or Keenan? Wow. Both have great matchups. You know what? Here's my determining factor. Miami gets pressure. And I think Herbert's have to get the ball out quick against a bad secondary. I think Keenan Allen's going to get 10 catches today. So I'm going to put him a little bit above DK. They both have similar ceilings. Mike Hawk, what's up? Needs some of a must win. Evans or Jerry Jeudy? So Jerry Jeudy, I believe, is a much higher floor for you this week. They're going to need him. He's going to probably get 10 targets. Mike Evans and Brady have not been on the same page. Nick Bosa's there. So the pressure will be there. The downfield pass won't be there. But Evans is your boom bust play. It could be very low. He can get 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. The probability is the low game. So you want those safe double-digit fantasy points. It could be Jeudy. But if you want that risk reward, it's got to be Evans. Warrior, Homer, Palmer, Amari Cooper. You know what? I'm going with Amari Cooper. He 4 for 40 last week, 9 targets, rusty quarterback, but he got that at least. And I think that at least he has the best floor of that group. Yeah, like I said, T-Ward, don't worry about the Tony Jones thing. I think his grinder carries. He's not good. Homer was their number 2 earlier after they lost Rashad. Oh, my gosh. Man. Wow, out of sight, out of mind. Rashad Penny. Oh, my gosh. Brian, Watson over Swift, Williams, or ETN? I do like Swift this week. The PPR is going to be there, but it's always hard to do it with a quarterback, right? Because if Watson knocks any of the rust off, he beats Swift. If any of the rust is knocked off, that's your decision. If you think any of the rust is knocked off, it's Watson. And we have no quantifiable way to take that, right? So sitting a quarterback's tough, but Swift is boom bust. Watson will have a better floor than any of the 3. Williams is tough to run on them. Both the other runners have bad running matchup. I know Jonathan Wade Cash. Thank you. G Money, ETN, Pierce, or Najee. Pick 2. ETN and Pierce. Wow. Najee, I got to say Najee's playing so well. And then the other 2, ETN or Pierce. You know, ultimately, ETN has a higher probability of breaking a play. Not that he's been explosive lately. I'm going to sit Pierce because I think Dallas is going to focus him. It could be garbage time. There's that. Dortch, 100%, Brian. Dortch has been cashed in all 4 games he started. Robinson, I don't think that Huntley can throw it outside. Brooks, Everett, or Dulcich? I think Denver's going to need Dulcich more than the Rams are going to need Everett. I'm going to go with Dulcich. Schultz and Njoku, Delroy. Look, Schultz has that great floor. Njoku, I'm still worried about the quarterback Watson and the rust. For that, I'm going to say Schultz. Admiral, you're welcome. Joe, Knight, Cook, and Njoku. Knight for sure in a good matchup. And you know what? I mean, both of them have sketchy outlooks because of the situation. I'm going to go with Cook here because and I hope he gets workload, but Njoku has the quarterback issue right now. So I'm going to go with Knight and Cook. Drop Cooks for Corey Davis. I don't think Corey Davis is worth it. I don't think that lemon's worth the squeeze. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I don't think so. I don't think Corey Davis is going to have enough for you. At least if Cooks come back. But it was another player, yes, but not him. Ayuk or Pickens? Ayuk. Bad matchup for Ayuk on the cornerbacks. Muhammad, you're welcome. Brian, more likely to score Stevenson or Henry. Oh, man. It's got to be Stevenson, I think. I think it's got to be Stevenson here. Johnny, kicker advice. Every point matters. Jeff, Goff or Cousins. If you were around, you heard me explain Goff's matchup stylistically is better. Cousins is facing the type of defense that gives him fits. I'm going to go with Goff here. Non-PR, White or Carter. I don't know what Carter's role is going to be. Like Zonovan White apparently is going to be Zonovan. Zonovan is going to be the lead guy here. So I'm going to go with White here. All right, Eric, need to win. Murray, Dak, or Goff. Goff, believe it or not, has a very, very good floor this week. So if you want a safe 18 to 20-point floor, it's going to be Goff. If you need the ceiling game, you need to get 28 points. Murray has that. Murray can also have a floor game because of Belichick. So if you want to go boom bust, you go Murray. Dak, I don't think he's going to throw a lot. Could he get a couple touchdowns? Yes. But I think they're going to run so much, the yard is going to be low, whereas Goff should be able to do that well. Dak or Kirk this week? So Dak has a higher floor because Kirk could have an implosion game facing a team that blitzes and plays man. But Dak should get you 2 touchdowns, but I don't think the yard is going to be high. I think they're going to run a lot. I think Kirk is more volatile. If you need 25 points out of your quarterback, it's not going to be Dak. Kirk could, how he just comes out of nowhere. That's where you could have that. Dulcich or Henry, got to go Dulcich there. Henry's not getting enough consistent usage. Not that Dulcich's targets have been crazy. Herbert or Goff, you know what? I know Goff is a great matchup, and I love him, but Herbert's facing a team with a bad secondary, and it's having me a shootout. I'm going to go that way. Eric, I'm terrible at kickers. I know that Dallas is scoring points, so I'll say Maher, but you got to trust your gut. Kickers require luck, and I have no luck. I have some skill, but no luck. Troy, good morning to you. Wilson, Homer, or Bam Knight? I'm going to go Zonovan Knight here. He has less risk, and defensive tackle for Bills is out, which helps. I like Wilson. Wilson is your huge upside guy, but because of last week's lack of usage, now he has a floor I wasn't expecting. So Wilson's your boom bust guy. Knight has a very, very strong floor with a reasonable ceiling. I like him, but if you need that ceiling play, Wilson could come up huge here. Kyle, Ayuk or Zay Jones? Yeah, you probably heard me talk about Ayuk throughout the show. Zay Jones should have a floor of targets in this game against a pass funnel defense. They stop the run, but they can't stop the pass. Zay Jones is way safer. And I don't know how much upside Ayuk has in this matchup. The outside corners for Tampa are very good, Dean and Davis. So I'm going to go Zay Jones. The time I'm going to go MVS, Robert Woods, Devontae Parker, Duvernay. For a one-day thing, Robert Woods has a chance. Look, they all have zero downside, right? They all could hit zeros. Robert Woods may be very useful here. Jeff, all right, what do you got here? Just call me Jim, not Mr. Coventry. Godwin or Chark. So, yeah, it's a tough one because Godwin is facing the thing where the defense are facing the 49ers take away the middle of the field very, very well. So normally it's like the slot's a tough place to navigate for them. But Godwin gets double-digit targets. So he has a floor. He's the safe floor play. He's going to get you double-digit fantasy points. He's getting you that, right? But he's not getting much more probably. Could he? Yes. But probability, no. Chark is your boom-bust play because he matches up very well with the Minnesota secondary. So you got that going for you. But Godwin's your safest play, and he'll get you something good. Chark, again, low floor, but I think he has a better ceiling than Godwin. Peoples-Jones or Chark in the flex. I'm going to go Chark there because I'm still concerned about the rest of the quarterback. Brian, thank you. Brian, Eric, I will help. Eric, Maher, all your there you go. Brian, Dortch or Boyd? Exactly correct. 100%. Dortch's ceiling isn't bad either, though. He's been like between 13 and 20 fantasy points in all 4 of his games. So I mean, the ceiling's enough. So I'm going to go Dortch or Boyd. Look, you're doing the dice roll and you're hoping for craps on Boyd. Honestly, Dortch, at least you've had a floor. Travis or Homer? Same guy. I think, unless you mean ETN. If you mean Travis Etienne, it's to be ETN. Ayuk, Pickens, Zay Jones, PPR. Similar question to what we had earlier, but different. Pickens, I just don't – the bad cornerback matchup. quarterback. Don't get him the ball outside well. Zay Jones is your floor play. I think it needs a strong farmer. Go ahead. TMOD, you're welcome. DJ Smith, Singletary, Latavius, Pacheco. I think Pacheco has the best floor of them all. Matchup's not bad. Denver's not as good against the run as they were earlier in the season. And then McMurray, per the offensive coordinator, is going to lose work to Mike Boone. Jamal Williams only played 11 carries and 30% of the snaps last week, and Minnesota's death against the run. Here's a Pacheco for sure. Singletary's your floor play to go with him. But if you want to go boom bust at the other running back, Jamal Williams can always score your 2 touchdowns. So that's the way. So you want safe, Singletary. You want boom bust, Jamal Williams. Last question. Zay or DJ Chark? Delroy's going to be my lame response here. It's going to be Zay is your floor. Chark is your boom bust, because Zay Jones should get you 12 PPR points around there. Chark could get you 4. It could get you 18. So I think you're going to base it on that. I got very last one, and I'm out. Got to eat. Peoples-Jones or Gabe Davis? Ooh. Both are sketchy, right? Because Gabe Davis hasn't been playing well. He probably uses a lot of Sauce Gardner. Peoples-Jones is dealing with a quarterback who's rusty. Jerome, you're very welcome. And so, I'm going to say Gabe Davis has a higher probability of scoring a touchdown. So I'm going to give him a slight edge. But if you have a gut feel, go with that. Jerome, thank you again. Bye, everybody. Good luck in Week 14, and we will talk